from Stonewood Interiors, and this is Jennifer Wilson, also from Stonewood Interiors, and welcome to my new house. When we bought this house, we're going to share a few before pictures, and then we're going to go into what we did. I love a large entry hall, and this entry hall is what sold me in this house. But you could also get too much entry hall, and so what we wound up doing is there was molding on the top, which we left, and I added wallpaper. You want to tell them about the wallpaper in the store?
In the store? So the wallpaper, this was quite an adventure because we wanted to bring the large open feeling into a cozier feeling, cozier space. So we looked at a lot of different wallpaper. We wanted the scale to be proportional to this space, and we ended up deciding on this beautiful neutral wallpaper. That was another point we wanted to make, that because we put color in other rooms, we wanted this space to be a little more neutral, so that it would flow and kind of blend with all the other decor.
And it's grass cloth, and I wanted texture in here because the floors, which I did not want to invest in changing all the floor in this entry, so the floor is very smooth and white, so I wanted to put some texture on the wall. So what I did in this room is we wallpapered. I wanted a contemporary light because it's a fairly traditional house, so the light has to be in proportion and scale to the size of the space. I took the runner and did a neutral runner. There were some things that were my parents that I kept, not a lot, but that's the more traditional elements in here. The Queen Anne sideboard, the secretary, which my husband gave me for our 5th anniversary, so I kind of wanted to keep it. Never thought about putting it in an entry hall, but it works in this one.
And that's another important point, is we've been talking about making our homes kind of tell a story about us as a family or individuals. So bringing these more traditional pieces from the past into a more updated home makes it interesting and also keeps it personal.
One thing that Jen and I do a lot is if the lamp is not quite large enough, we add books to go under it. So that's what I did here. I like the fact that it was black. I did change the spindles out. They were wrought iron, which most people like, but these were really busy. So I wanted it more neutral and more calming. So if you want to come on in here, I'll show you what we did in the living room. We had the baby grand piano. My husband and daughter both play, so we definitely wanted to bring it here. My husband and I love to sit in the winters and have coffee in here, so we utilize every bit of our house. The artwork in your home is also really important, and scale is probably one of the most important things. So on this wall, to connect everything, I wanted a large piece of artwork. So when we got married in the 70s, everything was little and you just grouped everything. That's just not the case anymore. It just gets too busy. So big artwork. This piece we had, this is an original piece. It was actually a photograph that the artist took and hand colored. It took her 3 days to do that. Then I love to mix old and new. So one day Jennifer and I were looking through the store and we saw this, and I said, I think this would be good for a coffee table. She said, I think it would be fabulous. So brought it home, put it in the middle. Love, love, love this leopard tray because her and I like a little bit of animal print everywhere in black.
And the other thing about the coffee table is that there's a bit of formality in this room. So the coffee table, this more rustic, raw wooden top, and the more aged, interesting bottom, but it's more aged, brings a bit of casualness to the formality. So we like that aspect too.
And all the furniture, I mean, everything in here that you see, except pieces that I had from 40 years ago, or my parents or grandparents, is from Stonewood Interiors. We carry a full line of upholstery. This is all Wesley Hall in here. Love Wesley Hall, love their fabrics, love the fabric combinations. So pulled all of these different fabrics to go in here. I wanted a more neutral palette. I was just telling Kate this morning that for 43 years I lived with red, green, and navy. And I love those colors, but I wanted just something a little calmer in this house. So I went a little bit more neutral with the blues, the greens. And where I started was in the dining room, which we're going to take you to. But the one last thing I want to say about this room is the light. You want to make sure that you have plenty of surface light in this area. Make sure that these lamps are large enough. People make that mistake constantly with too small lamps. If you notice how large this lamp is for this table, but in order to get light on these two seats, you need a bigger lamp.
And we're not just referring to large as in height, but we're referring to the girth and the weight of the lamp too. Obviously this is an interesting shape and it has these great accents on the sides, but the weight of it helps to balance out the weight of the two chairs on either side and the weight of the room. So scale needs to be in proportion to the room size.
That was a piece I had, so didn't purchase that piece new, but that piece I had, thought it fit in there. This was a chair I had and I recovered it. This is fabric that doesn't get dirty because I have a big dog, but here's another piece of animal print.
And that is, when Donna refers to it not getting dirty, it's a Krypton fabric, a performance fabric. So you could literally spill red wine on this beautiful animal print and it will just pearl off, just bead off. You just blot it and off you go. So it's a really great fabric to put in spaces where you may have animals or young children or just want extra protection.
And in the studio we have books and books and books of Krypton and performance fabrics. The one last thing I'm going to say that I did, or a couple things that I did in here, is we had a piano bench. I wanted something different, so I took two ottomans with the acrylic legs and made one piano bench. It really works well because if we have more people in here than we can sit here, I can always pull these out, put them right here, and I have two more seats. The other thing I did is I love this little lamp from Curry & Company. Love, love, love it. Jen and I were in High Point a couple years ago and fell in love with it, bought it, and the texture, it's really rough. But you wouldn't think about putting something like this on a traditional piano, but I think it works really well to mix all of it.
And it adds more texture to the space too. As you can see in this room, there are a lot of different textures that are combined, and that layering technique, layering different textures of fabrics and other materials helps to create a warm space.
So this is acrylic, those are acrylic, and I used acrylic rods on the drapery panels.
So they all relate to one another.
Right. All right, so into the dining room. In this room is where I started because this is really the center of my home. So I knew that from this room I would pull everything out. When we bought this house from the previous owners, they had used it as a billiards room, and we entertain a lot, so I knew we weren't going to do that. So I found this wallpaper and I kept saying to Jennifer, is it too busy? Is it too busy? Is it too busy? And she kept saying, no. So I went with it. My husband said, oh my God, that wallpaper's going to be busy. He loves it now. This is the first thing when people walk in that they always comment on is this wallpaper.
And if I may interject, this is the kind of the center room in on this first level. So all the other rooms, as Donna had mentioned earlier, are neutral. So it's kind of nice to have a pop in the middle of the home, and this serves as that pop.
Not only did I love the wallpaper, I love this chandelier. I wanted this chandelier. It is really large in scale, but it's just so interesting and something totally different than I had before. I mixed more contemporary chairs. I mean, some of my friends said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "No, I like to mix, mix, mix." So this is a Ambella home table that I love. It has a lot of detail on it. We sell this at also at Stone Wood, and then I put these chairs in it that are all upholstered, very comfortable. I didn't go with host and hostess chairs, which I generally like to do, but in this particular case, because these are all upholstered, I kind of wanted to keep it a little cleaner. And then I did a new sideboard, which is right here. This is also Ambella Home. And then the china cabinet was my parents'. That is one thing that I did keep. And
And the nice thing about the sideboard over here is that there are a lot of linear, like just straight lines in this room. And the two things that kind of break that up are this sideboard. I don't know if you can see the curves of the sideboard, the sides. I mean, it's beautifully curved, a beautiful design. And then, of course, the real wow factor is this chandelier. And they're all little, well, large and medium and small little circular glass
bottles.
Bottles.
Came from bottles.
Yes, that have a bit of a like a greenish blue hue, and they're all hung with detail on these hooks. I mean, that's what just makes the chandelier, and the reflection on the ceiling. I mean, you have to think about all these aspects of the design that when you're thinking about designing a room.
For instance, in the ceiling, I pulled the wall color from my living room onto this ceiling because I wanted these two rooms to relate to one another. So that's what I decided to do so that they look like it's just a cohesive room. I wish I had my fallout, but Kate said she'd come back and film because I found, believe it or not, a runner that's perfect for this with a beautiful white pumpkin that I'll put in the middle of it. I do leave my china out in this with this wallpaper. I've learned you got to be really careful though, because the wallpaper is busy. I did sconces from Stone Wood that are acrylic, that pulls the acrylic from in the living room. And then finished it off with these really pretty Chelsea House buffet lamps.